Let's continue with the C# tutorial with conditionals and loops. I need to back up a little bit. The if statement is a conditional statement that executes a block of code when a condition is true. The general form of the if statement is if, the conditions in parentheses, and the block, if it's true, is in curly braces that follows. The condition can be any expression that returns true or false. For example, static void main string args execution statement has this following block: int x equals 8, int y equals 3. If x is greater than y, which it is because 8 is greater than 3, since that's true, in the curly braces that follow, this console.writeLine x is greater than y, that code will execute. The code above will evaluate the condition x greater than y. If it's true, the code inside the if block will execute. When only one line of code is in the if block, the curly braces can be omitted. For example, if x is greater than y, then console.writeLine, parentheses and double quotes, the string x is greater than y. Fill in the blanks to display welcome to the screen when age is greater than 16. Int age equals 24. If age is greater than 16, if that's true, then console.writeLine welcome. Use relational operators to evaluate conditions. In addition to the less than and greater than operators, the following operators are available. Greater than or equal to. If the condition is 7 greater than or equal to 4, that will evaluate to true. Then there's the less than or equal to. So if the condition is 7 less than or equal to 4, that condition will evaluate to false. Because 7 is not less than 4, nor 7 is not equal to 4. So both of those possibilities are false. So when they're both false, then it will read false. Then you've got the equal to. So if the condition is 7 equal to 4 with 2 equal sign, that will evaluate to false because 7 is never ever equal to 4. And then we've got not equal to. So if in the parentheses it's 7 exclamation point equal 4, that means 7 not equal to 4. Well, that condition is true because 7 is not equal to 4. So for example, if A equal B, then console.writeLine, the string equal. Which is the correct operator for equality testing? It's the double equal sign. An optional else clause can be specified to execute a block of code when the condition in the if statement evaluates to false. So here we've got if, the conditions in the parentheses. If it's true, then what's in the first set of curly braces, that will run. If it's false, it jumps down to the else, and it will run what's in that block after the else statement. For example, int mark equals 85. If mark is less than 50, 85 is not less than 50, so that's false. So it's going to skip the first set of curly braces statement. It's going to jump to the else. And it's going to console.writeLine, you passed. So that's what's going to happen. Fill in the blanks to find the larger of two variables. Int A equals 42, int B equals 88. If A is greater than B, if that's true, then console.writeLine A. Else, if it's not true, console.writeLine B. Nested if statements. You can also include or nest if statements within another if statement. For example, int mark equals 100. If mark is greater than or equal to 50, well, that's true. 100 is not equal to 50, but it is greater than 50, so that makes it true. Then console.writeLine, you passed, that will run. Then it asks the question if mark is equal to 100. 100 is equal to 100, so it's also going to execute the next console.writeLine perfect. If neither one of those conditions were true, it would go to the else and console.writeLine, you failed. Well, actually, if mark greater than equal to 50, if that was false, then it would go down to that else and say you failed. Okay, you can nest an unlimited number of if-else statements. For example, int age equals 18. If age is greater than 14, that's true, so it's going to go down to the next line. If age is greater than 18, that's not true, because 18 is not greater than 18, so it's going to skip that console.writeLine adult statement and go to the else, which is going to say console.writeLine teenager. Okay. Now, if the first condition, if age is greater than 14, was false, then it would go all the way to the else that asks if age is greater than 0. And as long as it's greater than 0, if that's true, then you'll have console.writeLine child. Now, if somebody put in a negative number, then age greater than 0 would be false, and it would go down to the next else that says console.writeLine. Something's wrong. So that's that code. And remember that all else clauses must have a corresponding if statement. What is the output of this code? Int a equals 8. Int b equals plus plus a. Plus plus a is 8. Plus plus a means 9 because it's incrementing the value first, and then it's setting it to the variable b. Then it's asking the question if a is greater than 5, which it is. It started off as 8 and it got bumped up to 9, so both of those are greater than 5. Then b is equal to b minus 3. b is equal to 9 minus 3. b is equal to 6. b is 6. The else condition is going to be ignored, and the console.writeLine b will output 6. The if-else-if statement. The if-else-if statement can be used to decide among 3 or more actions. For example, int x equals 33. If x equals 8, well, it doesn't, so it's going to ignore that block and go down to the else if x equals 18. Well, that is wrong as well, so it's going to ignore that block. Else if x equals 33, now we've made a true statement, so it's going to run console.writeLine, value of x is 33. And it will ignore the final else condition because that else if was true. Remember that an if can have 0 or more else ifs, and they must come before the last else, which is optional. Once an else if succeeds, none of the remaining else ifs or else clause will be tested. How many nested if statements can an if statement contain? As many as you want. Okay, let's go to the switch statement. The switch statement provides a more elegant way to test a variable for equality against a list of values. Each value is called a case, and the variable being switched on is checked for each switch case. For example, int num equals 3. Switch num. Case 1. What it's doing is it's comparing num to the number of the case. So the value of num is 3, and the first case is given a constant value of 1. That's not a match. So the first console.writeLine 1 and the first break statement gets ignored. The next is it's going to compare the value of num with the value 2. That's not a match either, so it's going to go down to case 3. Well, num does have the value of 3, and this case has the value of 3. So now that we found a match, we're going to do the next 2 lines underneath case 3, which is console.writeLine 3 and break. Each case represents a value to be checked, followed by a colon, and the statements to get executed if that case is matched. A switch statement can include any number of cases. However, no two case labels may contain the same constant value. The break statement that ends each case will be covered shortly. Fill in the blanks to create a valid switch statement. Int x equals 32, switch x, case 8. 8 doesn't match 33, so we'll skip to the next one, case 18. That doesn't match either, but we have to fill in the blank, which is a colon. So then, like I said, case 18 doesn't match 33, so now we're going to have another case, so we have to put in the keyword case 33. X is 33, and this case is 33, so we're going to do console.writeLine value is 33, break. The default case. In a switch statement, the optional default case is executed when none of the previous cases match. Example, int age equals 88, switch age. Case 16, not a match. Case 42, not a match. Case 70, not a match. So then we have default, and so we're going to run the default. Console.writeLine, the default case, break. The default code executes when none of the cases match the switch expression. Drag and drop from the options below to test the x variable with a switch statement. Okay. So we are going to switch x. We don't know what x represents. We don't know the value of x. But we're just getting used to how we write this type of code. So if case 10 were to match, we would have this console.writeLine 10, and then we would break. That would be the next statement. So we're going to fill that blank in with break. Then it's if that's not the case, case 20 will be compared to x, and if that doesn't match, we're going to go down to another case. So we have to drag this keyword case for the last one. I messed up. Nope. We are now using default. So we're going to test case 10, case 20, and if 10 or 20, neither of them match x, then we default console.writeLine no match, break. The break statement. The role of the break statement is to terminate the switch statement. Without it, execution continues past the matching case statements and falls through to the next case statements, even when a case label doesn't match the switch variable. This behavior is called fall through, and modern C# compilers will not compile such code. All case and default code must end with a break statement. The break statement can also be used to break out of a loop. You will learn about loops in the coming lessons. What would occur if we forget to include a break statement at the end of case code? We'll get a compile error. Okay, we did the switch. Let's do the while. A while loop repeatedly executes a block of code as long as a given condition is true. For example, the following code displays the numbers 1 through 5. Int num equals 1, while num is less than 6, console.writeLine num plus plus. And you see the output is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The example above declares a variable equal to 1 with the statement int num equals 1. The while loop checks the condition num less than 6, and if true, executes the statement in its body, which increment the number of num by 1 before checking the loop condition again. After the 5th iteration, num equals 6, and the condition evaluates to false, and the loop stops running. The loop body is the block of statements within the curly braces. Fill in the blanks to display the value of x to the screen 3 times. So we start off with int x equals 42 and int num equals 0. While num is less than 3, console.writeLine x. X. and then increment the value of num. The while loop. The compound arithmetic operators can be used to further control the number of times a loop runs. For example, int num equals 1, while num less than 6, console.writeLine num plus equals 2. This time num equals num plus 2. So num starts off as 1. Then when we get down to that plus equals, it is 1 equals 1 plus 2, so it becomes 3. That's why you see 1, 3, and 5 is the output, because each time it changes by 2 and originally starts at 1. Without a statement that eventually evaluates the loop condition to false, the loop will continue indefinitely. Fill in the blanks to increment the value of num by 2 to display only even values. So this time we're creating int num equal to 0. Before it was int num equal to 1. Now it's 0. While num is less than 100, console.writeLine num plus equals 2. So first it will write 0, then it will write 2, 4, 6, all the way up to 98, which will be the last time, because once it goes from 98 to 100, while 100 is less than 100 is false, so it won't do what's in the curly braces anymore. We can shorten the previous example by incrementing the value of num right in the condition. So here we have int num equals 0, while plus num is less than 6, console.writeLine num. Well, because we're using plus num, that means we're going to increment num first. So while 1 is less than 6, WriteLine 1. So when we hit try it yourself, we should get numbers from 1 to 5. Let's run it. And we're waiting. There it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So back out of that. And let's see. What do you think? Is there a difference between while num plus less than 6 and while plus num less than 6? Yes. The loop while plus num less than 6 will execute 5 times, as we've seen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because pre-increment increases the value of x before checking the num less than 6 condition, while post-increment will check the condition before increasing the value of num, making while num plus less than 6 execute 6 times. That would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many times will the following loop execute? So we want to know how many times the code in the curly braces will execute. So we start off with int x equals 1, while x plus is less than 5. Well, x plus means that we're going to use the value of x before we bump it up. So while 1 is less than 5, so x still has the value of 1. While 1 is less than 5, if 1 modulus 2 equals 0, well, 1 modulus 2 means 1 divided by 2 would be even with no remainder. So that's false. Okay, that if condition is false, so that means that x plus equals 2 is not going to run. It's going to be ignored. All right, so basically we don't count that, I suppose. We go back up to the while. Now x did increment from 1 to 2, while 2 is less than 5, which is true. If 2 modulus 2 is equal to 0, well, 2 divided by 2 is even 1 with no remainder, so that's true. So 2 equals 2 plus 2. 2 equals 2 plus 2, which is 4. Then, while 4 is less than 5, that is true. If 4 modulus 2 equals 0, well, 4 divided by 2 goes evenly with no remainder, so that's true. So 4 equals 4 plus 2. At this point, x is 6. While 6 is less than 5, that's not going to run anymore because 6 is not less than 5. So the first time we ran it, we did not get even 0, so we didn't completely run that body. But the second 2 times we did, so I'm going to say the loop executed 2 times. The for loop. A for loop executes a set of statements a specific number of times and has the syntax for init, condition, increment. And inside the body, we have statements. A counter is declared once in init. Next, the condition evaluates the value of the counter, and the body of the loop is executed if the condition is true. After loop execution, the increment statement updates the counter, also called the loop control variable. The condition is again evaluated, and the loop body repeats, only stopping when the condition becomes false. So here we have for and in parentheses int x equals 10, semicolon, x less than 15, semicolon, x plus plus. Console.WriteLine, value of x, and then you've got a 0 placeholder there, a comma, and then x. So our output will be the string value of x colon 10, value of x colon 11, value of x colon 12, value of x colon 13, value of x colon 14. Note the semicolons in the syntax. Drag and drop from the options below to create a general for loop. So we want to create a counter. So for int x equals 5, now we want a condition as long as x is less than 10. Well, what are we going to do after the loop? We're going to increment it. X plus plus. Console.WriteLine x. The for loop. Compound arithmetic operators can be used to further control loop iterations. For example, for int x equals 0, x less than 10, x plus equals 3. Console.WriteLine x. This outputs 0, 3, 6, 9. You can also decrement the counter for int x equals 10. As long as x is greater than 0, x minus equals 2. Console.WriteLine x. And that outputs 10, 8, 6, 4, and 2. Fill in the blanks to print the even values from 0 to 100 using a for loop. So we have the keyword for, int x equals 0, as long as x is less than 100, x plus equals 2. Console.WriteLine x. The for loop. The init and increment statements may be left out if not needed, but remember that the semicolons are mandatory. For example, the init can be left out. So here, we didn't put the init in the for condition, we created it outside. So we have int x equals 10, 4, and then in the parentheses, you have to put the semicolon where you would have put into x equals 10, because you have to have like a placement for the counter. You have to show that you've made a placement for the counter. Then you've got x greater than 0, that's the condition. And then you've got the increment x minus equals 3. That's actually a decrement. It's going to subtract by 3 each time. Console.write line parentheses x. So let's hit try it yourself and check out the output. Ten, 7, 4, and 1. You have the increment statement. You can have the increment statement in the for loop body. Okay, this is interesting. So we started off with the for loop having 3 things in the parentheses, and we've chipped away at one, and now we're going to chip away at another. But again, we have to put the semicolons where they normally would have been. Int x equals 10, so we created our counter by itself. Then for semicolon, and here's the condition, as long as x is greater than 0. And then we put another semicolon for before the third, before the increment. So in the parentheses we have console.writeLine x, and here in the body, the loop body, we have x minus equals 3. Okay. Now here it says 4, and in the parentheses they took everything out. They said 4, semicolon, semicolon, and then nothing in the body of the curly braces. That is an infinite loop, because there's nothing that tests a condition, and once it becomes false, it terminates the program. There's nothing there, so it infinitely loops. How many times will this loop run? Int x equals 1, 4. It's okay that we put the semicolon there because we created x equals 1 above it. And here's the condition, x less than 7. And the increment is actually put in the body of the curly braces, which is okay. So x starts off as 1. As long as it's 7, we will increment it, and then it will turn into 3. Okay, so that was one time. The first time it ran, then we changed it to 3. Then it will change to 5. Then it will change to 7. So I'm going to say 2 because 7 less than 7 is not valid. So I would think that at that point it stops the whole thing. Oh, I messed up. How many times will this loop run? X is less than 1 is less than 7. So then it's 3. So that was one time. Three is less than 7. So then it's 5. 5 is less than 7. So it's 7. Okay, so then I should say 3 times. Okay. Did I just do that? Yes, I just did that. Man, all this time I've been dragging and dropping that with my finger, and all I had to do is hit it and it went up where it needed to go. How cool is that? Okay, now we're on the do-while loop. A do-while loop is similar to a while loop, except that a do-while loop is guaranteed to execute at least one time. Okay, execute meaning what's in the curly braces. So here we have int a equals 0, do what's in the curly braces, console write line a, and then increment a plus plus. Then we check the condition while a is less than 5. So a starts off as 0, and we write out 0. Then we increment 0 to 1. And then while 1 is less than 5, we're going to do it again. And it's going to keep on going, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Note the semicolon after the while statement. Okay, that's a little different. Fill in the blanks to create a valid loop. Int x equals 0. Do. So console.writeLine x, which is 0. X plus equals 2, which makes x now 2. While x is less than 10, and semicolon. Do while versus while. If the condition of the do while loop evaluates to false, the statements in the do will still run. Int x equals 42. Do console.writeLine x, which is 42, and then x plus plus changes it to 43. While 43 is less than 10, that's false, so basically it's done. It just outputs 42. The do while loop executes the statements at least once and then tests the condition. The while loop executes the statement only after testing the condition. What is the output of this code? Int a equals 2, do a plus equals 3. That means a equals 2 plus 3, so a is 5 now. While a is less than 4, and it's not, console.write a. Okay, I'm a little confused. Let's try this again. A is 2. Do a plus equals 3. So now a is equal to 5, while 5 is less than 4. So it's not going to go back up to the do again. Console.write a. So, a turned into 5, so let's say a is 5. Okay. Break and continue. We saw the use of break in the switch statement. Another use of break is in loops. When the break statement is encountered inside a loop, the loop is immediately terminated and the program execution moves on to the next statement following the loop body. For example, int num equals 0, while num is less than 20. If num is equal to 5, break. Console.writeLine num plus plus. this is going to give us the output 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you are using nested loops, for example, one loop inside another loop, the break statement will stop the execution of the innermost loop and start executing the next line of code after the block. What is the largest number that will be printed by this code? For int x equals 1, as long as x is less than 8, increment x. If x is greater than 5, then break. Console.writeLine x. Well, x starts off as 1, and the condition makes it true. 1 is less than 8. But then it's asking, is 1 greater than 5? And that's false. That's false. So, golly. So it won't break out of there. Console.writeLine x. X would be, so it's kind of confusing. I'm going to say 1. I don't think it's going to go anywhere after that. And that's wrong. Okay, what is the largest number? So let's see. 4, x is equal to 1. If x is greater than 5, break and write the line. So it's not going to write the line yet because the if condition 1 greater than 5 wasn't true. So then it's going to go back up and x is going to be incremented, and now it's going to be 2. As long as 2 is less than 8. Is 2 greater than 5? No. Go back up to the for loop. 3. As long as 3 is greater than 8. Is 3 greater than 5? No. So go back up and change it to 4. As long as 4 is less than 8. If 4 is greater than 5, that's false. So go back up to the 4 and it's incremented to 5. So 5 less than 8, that's true. If 5 is greater than 5, that's false. So now x is equal to 5. 6. 6 less than 8 is true. So if 6 is greater than 5, break out of the loop. Console.writeLine would be 6, I think. Oh my God. Well, whatever I did wrong, the answer was 5. Continue. The continue statement is similar to the break statement, but instead of terminating the loop entirely, it skips the current iteration of the loop and continues with the next iteration. For I equals 0, I less than 10, I plus plus. If I is equal to 5, continue. Console.writeLine. So we got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. When we get to 5, we skip it. So you have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, skip 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. As you can see, number 5 is not printed, as the continue statement skips the remaining statements of that iteration of the loop. All right, fill in the blanks to print only even numbers. For int x equals 0, as long as x is less than 99, x plus plus. Okay. I need curly brace. Then I need an if x modulus 2 does not equal 0, let's see, x plus equals 2, semicolon. What? That's not right. Let's unlock it. I'm getting tired. Oh God, continue. It's the word we just learned. Logical operators. Logical operators are used to join multiple expressions and return true or false. Got the and operator, the or operator, and the not operator. So you use y and two and symbols and a y, or x and two or symbols and a y, or an exclamation point x to mean not. The and operator works the following way. If the left operand is false and the right operand is false, then the result is false. If the left operand is false and the right operand is true, the result is false. If the left operand is true and the right operand is false, then the result is false. If the left operand is true and the right operand is true, then the result is true. For example, if you wish to display text to the screen only if age is greater than 18 and money is greater than 100, you say int age equals 42, double money equals 540. If age is greater than 18 and money is greater than 100, then we will run console.writeLine welcome. The AND operator was used to combine the two expressions. With the AND operator, both operands must be true for the entire expression to be true. The result of A and B is true if both A and B are true. You can join more than two conditions. Int age equals 42, int grade equals 75. If age is greater than 16 and age is less than 80 and grade is greater than 50. Console.writeLine, hey there. The entire expression evaluates to true only if all the conditions are true. How many AND operators can be used in one statement? As many as you want. The OR operator returns true if any one of its operands is true. For example, int age equals 18, int score equals 85, if age is greater than 20 or score is greater than 50. Console.writeLine, welcome. You can join any number of logical OR statements you want. In addition, multiple OR and AND statements may be joined together. What is the output of this code? Int x equals 5, int y equals 12. If x is greater than 10, which it's not, or y divided by x greater than 1, y is 12, x is 5, 12 divided by 5 is 2 with remainder, and so it is greater than 1. So that condition will be true. So console.write y minus x. 12 minus 5 is 7. Logical not. The logical not operator works with just a single operand, reversing its logical state. Thus, if a condition is true, the not operator makes it false and vice versa. Int age equals 8. If not age greater than or equal to 16, then console.write your age is less than 16. If A is true and B is false, what is the result of not A and B? That would be true. The conditional operator. Okay, the question mark colon operator, the conditional operator. Consider the following example. Int age equals 42, string message. If age is greater than or equal to 18, message equals welcome, else message equals sorry. Console.writeLine message. The code above checks the value of the age variable and displays the corresponding message to the screen. This can be done in a more elegant and shorter way by using the question mark colon operator, which has the following form. Expression 1, question mark, expression 2, colon, expression 3. The question mark colon operator works the following way. Expression 1 is evaluated. If it is true, then expression 2 is evaluated and becomes the value of the entire expression. If expression 1 is false, then expression 3 is evaluated and its value becomes the value of the expression. So the following example above can be replaced by the following. Int age equals 42, string message. Message equals age greater than or equal to 18, question mark, welcome, colon, sorry. So if the parentheses condition is true, after the question mark, we're going to do the thing to the left of the colon. If it's false, we're going to do the thing to the right of the colon. Console.writeLine, parentheses, message. What is the value of x after this code? Int x equals 5, int y equals 3. X equals x greater than y. Is x greater than y? Yes, it is. That's true. 5 is greater than 3. So we are going to respond with y, which is 3. Okay, basic calculator. Now let's create a simple project that repeatedly asks the user to enter two values and then displays their sum until the user enters exit. We start with a do-while loop that asks the user for input and calculates the sum. Do. Console.write x equals int x equals convert to int 32 parentheses console.readline. Next we have console.write y equals. Then we have int y equals convert to int 32 and in parentheses console readline. The next line is int sum equals x plus y. And lastly, console.writeLine result with a 0 placeholder, comma sum. After the curly brace, we have while and in parentheses true. The code will ask for user input indefinitely. Now we need to handle the exit. If the user enters a non-integer value, the program will crash from the conversion error. We will learn how to handle errors like that in the coming modules. How many times would this loop run? Do, and then there's nothing in there, while, false. I'm going to guess 1. because the do while will always do just at least one or more. Basic calculator, if the user enters exit as the value of x, this program should quit the loop. To do this, we use a break statement. Console.write x equals string str equals console.readline. If str equals exit, then break. Int x equals convert.toInt32 and in parentheses str. Here we compare the input with the value exit and break the loop. So the whole program looks like this. Do console.write x equals string str equals console.readline. If str equals exit, break. Int x equals convert to 32 parentheses str. And then console.write y equals int y equals convert.toInt32 parentheses console.readline. Int sum equals x plus y. Console.writeLine result with placeholder 0, comma, sum, while true. Which of the following is used to take user input? That's the console.readline. Now we can do the module 2 quiz. Fill in the blank to print the value of x 5 times. Int x equals 42, int num equals 0, while num is less than 5. Console.writeLine the value of x, so writeLine x, and then num, we're going to increment num plus plus. Drag and drop from the options below to create a valid finite for loop. So for int x equals 0, as long as x is less than 10, x plus plus, console.writeLine x. Select the correct statements about and or operators. A or B is true if either A or B is true. A and B is false if both A and B are true. A and B is true if either A or B is true. A and B or C is true if C is true. Fill in the blanks to calculate the sum of all whole numbers from 1 to 100. Int sum equals 0. For int x equals 1, x less than or equal to 100, x plus plus. Sum plus equals x, console.writeLine sum. What is the value of x after this code? Int x equals 4, int y equals 9, x equals, okay, x equals 9 divided by 4 does not equal, the remainder does not equal 0. Okay, 9 divided by 4 is 2 with a remainder. So that's true. It does have a remainder, so not equal 0 is true. So then we're going to do y divided by x since it's true. 9 divided by 4. And since this is int, we're going to chop off the decimal. 9 divided by 4 is 2 with the decimal that we're going to chop off. Okay. And with that, I'm going to close this video, and the next video will be on methods.